Imagine you're at work, focused, feeling productive. Then, out of nowhere, a colleague walks up and starts criticizing everything you're doing. It's not constructive, it's not helpful, it's downright toxic. Their words have a way of sticking to you, lingering long after they've left, like an invisible stain on your mind. Now, here's the real question. How do you handle it? How do you protect your peace and move forward without getting pulled into the vortex of someone else's negativity? In this journey, we'll draw upon the wisdom of the Stoics, those ancient philosophers who spent their lives studying the art of inner resilience. Stoicism isn't about avoiding difficult people. It's about understanding them and ultimately taking away their power over you. So, what exactly makes someone toxic? The term toxic person might feel harsh or overused, but it describes a very real behavior pattern. Toxic people thrive on chaos. They manipulate, they criticize, they control, and they spread negativity like it's their second nature. It's important to understand this isn't about labeling people as villains or writing them off as hopeless. The Stoics believed in empathy, understanding why someone acts the way they do. Many people become toxic due to their own fears, their insecurities, or simply because of the environment they were raised in. They might not even realize how damaging their behavior is. But here's the truth. Regardless of their reasons, toxic behavior can harm you, and you can't afford to let that harm take root in your mind. Your peace, your well-being, and your ability to thrive depend on learning how to navigate these stormy waters without getting swept away. You might be wondering, why is it so important to address this now? The reason is simple. Toxic people steal your most valuable resource, your mental energy. Think about the last time you had an encounter with someone whose negativity left you feeling drained. Maybe it was a colleague who constantly criticized your work, or a family member who manipulated your emotions to get their way. You probably found yourself replaying the interaction over and over in your head, even long after it was over. You couldn't sleep, you couldn't focus, and maybe you even doubted yourself. Toxic people can leave you questioning everything: your worth, your competence, even your right to be happy. They use words as weapons, and when we allow those words to stick, we end up becoming their prisoners. But here's where the Stoics give us a powerful insight. They teach us that no one can make us feel anything unless we allow it. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is where your true power lies, in the ability to control how you respond to the world, even when the world is at its most hostile. So how would a Stoic handle a toxic person? They wouldn't yell, argue, or try to change them. Instead, they'd look inward. They'd ask themselves, why am I letting this person disturb my peace? What does their behavior say about them? And what does my reaction say about me? The Stoics believed in the concept of the inner fortress, a place of calm and strength within ourselves that no one can touch, no matter how chaotic the outside world becomes. Toxic people are like storms, loud, disruptive, and often out of control. But the Stoics' goal isn't to fight the storm. It's to build a shelter so strong that the storm cannot reach them. In this video, we're going to explore how to build that shelter. We'll look at practical strategies drawn from the teachings of Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca that can help you deal with toxic people while maintaining your peace of mind. Because the truth is, toxic people will always be there. But your response? That's yours to own. Toxic people come in many different forms. Each type of toxic individual brings their own brand of negativity, and recognizing these patterns can help you respond effectively. Let's take a closer look at the different types of toxic people and their behaviors. Types. of toxic people. 1. The criticizer. The criticizer is someone who constantly finds faults. They rarely offer praise, and even when they do, it's often followed by a "but," a way to take back any positivity. The criticizer is never satisfied, and they enjoy pointing out flaws in others, often to make themselves feel more competent or superior. You might hear them say things like, "That was good, but you should have done it this way." Their constant negative feedback can leave you feeling inadequate and demoralized. 2. The manipulator. The manipulator uses subtle tactics to control others. They may play on your emotions, especially your guilt or your sense of obligation, to get what they want. They're skilled at making you feel responsible for their happiness, and they use this to their advantage. Manipulators can be especially challenging because their toxicity isn't always obvious. They make you feel like you owe them something, and before you know it, you're bending over backward to accommodate them while your own needs get pushed aside. 3. The narcissist. The narcissist believes they are the center of the universe. They expect constant admiration and will go to great lengths to ensure their ego is fed. Narcissists have little empathy for others, and if you don't meet their expectations, they'll quickly turn on you. The narcissist makes everything about themselves, and they view relationships as transactions. If you're not benefiting them in some way, they have no use for you. Their self-centered behavior can be exhausting and make you feel unseen and unheard. 4th, the victim. The victim always has a problem, and nothing is ever their fault. They thrive on sympathy, and they constantly look for others to validate their struggles. The victim will tell you how unfairly life has treated them, and if you offer solutions, they'll find reasons why those solutions won't work. They want your attention, not your advice. Engaging with a victim can be draining because no matter how much support you offer, it's never enough. 5. The drama magnet. The drama magnet is always in the middle of a crisis, whether it's a work issue, a personal relationship, or something else. Their life is in constant turmoil. They enjoy the chaos and the attention that comes with it, and they'll try to pull you into their drama. They want you to take sides, to get involved, and to be just as worked up as they are. The drama magnet leaves you feeling emotionally exhausted, and their constant upheaval can easily disrupt your peace. Why do people become toxic? To truly understand toxic people, it's important to explore why they behave the way they do. Toxic behavior often stems from deep-rooted insecurities, fears, or emotional wounds. These individuals may have been conditioned by past experiences, or they might have learned these behaviors as a way to cope with their own pain. Many toxic behaviors come from a place of fear. The criticizer, for example, may criticize others to mask their own feelings of inadequacy. By tearing others down, they feel a fleeting sense of superiority. Similarly, the narcissist's need for constant admiration is often a result of deep insecurity. They need validation from others to feel worthy, and they'll go to great lengths to protect their fragile ego. Some toxic individuals behave the way they do because it's what they learned from their environment. If someone grew up in a household where manipulation was the norm, they might not even realize they're using these tactics in their own relationships. It's simply how they learned to get what they want. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it does help us understand where it comes from. And understanding is the first step toward dealing with it effectively. People who are deeply hurt often hurt others. The victim, for instance, may have experienced real trauma or hardship in their life, and they use their victimhood as a way to cope with that pain. They may genuinely believe that the world is against them, and they seek out others to validate their experience. While their pain is real, their refusal to take responsibility for their actions and move forward can create a toxic dynamic. Imagine a colleague who constantly criticizes your work. Every time you complete a project, they have something negative to say. They point out mistakes, undermine your efforts, and make you feel like you're never good enough. This is the criticizer at play. Their behavior can create a toxic work environment, leaving you feeling anxious and questioning your abilities. Now consider the manipulator in the workplace. This person may use flattery to get you to do their work, or they might play on your sense of teamwork to guilt you into taking on extra tasks. They make you feel like you're being a team player, but in reality, they're taking advantage of you. Their behavior can lead to burnout and resentment. Toxic behavior can be especially challenging when it comes from a family member because these relationships are often harder to distance yourself from. For example, a family member who constantly plays the victim might make you feel guilty for not doing enough for them. They may say things like, "After everything I've done for you, you can't even do this one thing for me." Their words are designed to manipulate your emotions and make you feel responsible for their well-being. Another example is the narcissist in the family. Perhaps a parent who expects constant praise and attention. They dismiss your achievements, turning every conversation back to themselves. Their lack of empathy can leave you feeling unloved and undervalued, as if nothing you do is ever enough. Friendships can also be affected by toxic dynamics. Consider the drama magnet, a friend who is always in crisis and expects you to drop everything to help them. They thrive on the chaos, and they want you to be just as invested in their drama as they are. When you try to set boundaries or take a step back, they accuse you of not being a real friend. Their constant need for attention and validation can leave you feeling drained and overwhelmed. The manipulator might also show up in a friendship. This is the friend who only calls when they need something. They use your kindness to their advantage, and they rarely offer anything in return. Their friendship is conditional, based on what you can do for them, and this one-sided dynamic can leave you feeling used and unappreciated. Recognizing these toxic patterns is crucial because it allows you to understand what you're dealing with. The Stoics believed in seeing things clearly, without illusion or self-deception. When you recognize a toxic person for who they are, you can begin to take steps to protect yourself. It's also important to remember that not all toxic people are toxic all the time. Someone may exhibit toxic behavior in certain situations, but be kind and supportive in others. This can make it difficult to know how to respond. The key is to focus on patterns. If someone consistently makes you feel worse after interacting with them, their behavior is toxic and you need to address it. Understanding the different types of toxic people and the reasons behind their behavior helps you approach these situations with greater clarity and empathy. It allows you to see that their actions are a reflection of their own struggles, not a reflection of your worth. And this understanding is the foundation for taking back your power and protecting your peace. The Stoics were masters of handling adversity. They lived in a world filled with challenges, political turmoil, social instability, and personal hardships. Yet, their writings reflect an unshakable sense of inner peace and resilience. How did they manage this? By developing a set of guiding principles that allowed them to face any difficulty, including toxic people, without losing their composure. One of the most important teachings of Stoicism is the concept of dichotomy of control. Epictetus, a former slave-turned-Stoic philosopher, taught that we must distinguish between what is within our control and what is not. The Stoics believe that our peace of mind depends on focusing our energy on what we can control, our thoughts, our actions, and our attitudes, while letting go of everything else. When dealing with toxic people, the dichotomy of control becomes crucial. You cannot control how someone else behaves. You cannot make them be kind, fair, or reasonable. However, you can control how you respond to them. You can choose to stay calm, not engage in their negativity, and protect your inner peace. Another key Stoic principle is amor fati, or love of fate. This means embracing whatever happens in life, both the good and the bad. Toxic people are part of the world, and sometimes they're unavoidable. The Stoic approach isn't to wish they didn't exist or to resist their presence. Instead, it's to accept that they are part of your reality and to see their presence as an opportunity to practice virtue, patience, understanding, and strength. Marcus Aurelius and dealing with difficult people. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, faced countless challenges during his reign. He dealt with betrayal, wars, and difficult people on a daily basis. Yet he remained committed to his Stoic practice. In his personal journal, Meditations, Marcus wrote about dealing with difficult people in a way that still resonates today. He said, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they cannot tell good from evil." This wasn't a pessimistic view. It was a way to prepare himself mentally. By acknowledging the reality of human nature, Marcus was able to approach difficult people with calm acceptance instead of frustration. He understood that their behavior was a result of their ignorance and struggles, not a reflection of his own worth. Marcus Aurelius also believed in the importance of empathy. He often reminded himself that even those who behave poorly are, in a way, his kin. They are fellow human beings, struggling with their own flaws and challenges. By seeing others in this light, Marcus was able to respond with compassion rather than anger. The Stoics believed that the key to dealing with external challenges lies within the mind. As Marcus Aurelius famously said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This statement captures the essence of Stoic resilience. Their friendship is conditional, based on what you can do for them, and this one-sided dynamic can leave you feeling used and unappreciated. Recognizing these toxic patterns is crucial because it allows you to understand what you're dealing with. The Stoics believed in seeing things clearly, without illusion or self-deception. When you recognize a toxic person for who they are, you can begin to take steps to protect yourself. It's also important to remember that not all toxic people are toxic all the time. Someone may exhibit toxic behavior in certain situations, but be kind and supportive in others. This can make it difficult to know how to respond. The key is to focus on patterns. If someone consistently makes you feel worse after interacting with them, their behavior is toxic and you need to address it. Understanding the different types of toxic people and the reasons behind their behavior helps you approach these situations with greater clarity and empathy. It allows you to see that their actions are a reflection of their own struggles, not a reflection of your worth. And this understanding is the foundation for taking back your power and protecting your peace. The Stoics were masters of handling adversity. They lived in a world filled with challenges, political turmoil, social instability, and personal hardships. Yet their writings reflect an unshakable sense of inner peace and resilience. How did they manage this? By developing a set of guiding principles that allowed them to face any difficulty, including toxic people, without losing their composure. One of the most important teachings of Stoicism is the concept of dichotomy of control. Epictetus, a former slave-turned-Stoic philosopher, taught that we must distinguish between what is within our control and what is not. The Stoics believe that our peace of mind depends on focusing our energy on what we can control, our thoughts, our actions, and our attitudes, while letting go of everything else. When dealing with toxic people, the dichotomy of control becomes crucial. You cannot control how someone else behaves. You cannot make them be kind, fair, or reasonable. However, you can control how you respond to them. You can choose to stay calm, not engage in their negativity, and protect your inner peace. Another key Stoic principle is amor fati, or love of fate. This means embracing whatever happens in life, both the good and the bad. Toxic people are part of the world, and sometimes they're unavoidable. The Stoic approach isn't to wish they didn't exist or to resist their presence. Instead, it's to accept that they are part of your reality and to see their presence as an opportunity to practice virtue, patience, understanding, and strength. Marcus Aurelius and dealing with difficult people. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, faced countless challenges during his reign. He dealt with betrayal, wars, and difficult people on a daily basis. Yet, he remained committed to his Stoic practice. In his personal journal, Meditations, Marcus wrote about dealing with difficult people in a way that still resonates today. He said, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they cannot tell good from evil." This wasn't a pessimistic view, it was a way to prepare himself mentally. By acknowledging the reality of human nature, Marcus was able to approach difficult people with calm acceptance instead of frustration. He understood that their behavior was a result of their ignorance and struggles, not a reflection of his own worth. Marcus Aurelius also believed in the importance of empathy. He often reminded himself that even those who behave poorly are, in a way, his kin. They are fellow human beings, struggling with their own flaws and challenges. By seeing others in this light, Marcus was able to respond with compassion rather than anger. The Stoics believed that the key to dealing with external challenges lies within the mind. As Marcus Aurelius famously said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This statement captures the essence of Stoic resilience. When dealing with toxic people, the first step is to recognize the power of your own mind. Their words and actions are external events, things you cannot control. However, how you interpret those words and actions and how you choose to respond is entirely within your control. Toxic people may try to provoke you, but you have the power to decide whether or not to let their behavior affect your inner peace. To develop this inner strength, the Stoics practiced negative visualization, a technique where they imagined the worst possible scenarios, not to dwell on them, but to prepare themselves mentally. By visualizing challenging situations, they were able to face them with greater composure when they actually occurred. For example, you might imagine a toxic colleague criticizing your work and visualize yourself responding with calmness and detachment. This mental rehearsal can help you remain composed when faced with real-life negativity. Another practice the Stoics embraced was self-reflection. At the end of each day, they would reflect on their actions and thoughts. Marcus Aurelius would ask himself if he had lived according to his values and whether he had allowed anything outside his control to disturb his peace. This habit of self-reflection is essential when dealing with toxic people. By examining your responses, you can identify any patterns of behavior that need improvement and strengthen your ability to stay calm in the face of adversity. The Stoics also emphasize the importance of virtue, acting in alignment with one's highest values. When faced with toxicity, it's easy to get pulled into the same negative behavior, responding to anger with anger or manipulation with manipulation. But the Stoics believe that our true power lies in choosing virtue over vice. Even when others behave poorly, we can choose to act with integrity, compassion, and patience. This not only preserves our inner peace, but also sets a powerful example for others. The Stoic concept of the inner fortress is a powerful metaphor for dealing with toxic people. Imagine that within you there is a fortress, a place of calm, strength, and resilience that no one can touch. The walls of this fortress are built from your values, your understanding of what truly matters, and your ability to control your responses. Toxic people are like storms. They may howl and rage, trying to break through your defenses. But if your inner fortress is strong, their efforts are in vain. You may hear the storm, you may see the lightning, but you remain safe and secure within your walls. This doesn't mean ignoring or avoiding toxic people. It means acknowledging their presence without letting them penetrate your peace of mind. To build this inner fortress, start by identifying what triggers you. Are there specific words or behaviors that make you feel defensive, angry, or hurt? Understanding your triggers is the first step to fortifying your defenses. Once you know what affects you, you can practice responding differently. Instead of reacting emotionally, take a step back, observe your thoughts, and remind yourself of what is within your control. The Stoics also practiced mindfulness, remaining present in the moment, without getting carried away by emotions or judgments. When faced with a toxic person, try to observe their behavior objectively, as if you were watching a scene in a movie. This detachment allows you to respond calmly rather than getting caught up in the drama. Finally, remember that the purpose of building your inner fortress is not to isolate yourself from the world, but to engage with it more effectively. Toxic people will always exist, but with a strong inner fortress, you can navigate their negativity without losing your peace, your values, or your sense of self. One of the most powerful strategies for dealing with toxic people is setting clear boundaries. Toxic individuals often thrive on overstepping boundaries, whether it's by criticizing you relentlessly, taking up your time, or demanding emotional energy that you simply can't afford to give. By establishing firm limits, you send a message that your well-being is non-negotiable. The Stoics believed in the importance of protecting one's inner peace, and setting boundaries is a way to do just that. Epictetus often emphasized the need to keep oneself aligned with reason, and part of that is deciding what you will and will not allow in your life. Boundaries create a protective barrier between you and the chaos that toxic people try to bring. Imagine a colleague who constantly criticizes your work in an unconstructive way. Instead of letting this behavior continue, calmly and assertively let them know what is acceptable. You could say, "I appreciate feedback, but I need it to be constructive and specific. If you can't provide that, I'd prefer not to discuss this further." This communicates clearly that you value your work and will not tolerate unnecessary negativity. Setting boundaries can also mean limiting your interactions with toxic people. If a family member constantly puts you down, reduce the time you spend with them. Instead of feeling guilty, remind yourself that you are doing what's necessary to protect your mental and emotional well-being. The Stoics emphasize the importance of detachment, recognizing that other people's actions are outside your control, but your response is entirely up to you. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the importance of not allowing external events to disturb your inner calm. When dealing with toxic people, detachment is key. Picture this scenario. A toxic friend starts gossiping about you behind your back. Naturally, this behavior can be hurtful, but the Stoic approach is to detach from the emotional sting of their actions. Remind yourself that their behavior says more about them than it does about you. Their words are external events completely outside your control. Instead of retaliating, you could choose not to engage. Avoiding reaction doesn't mean you're accepting their behavior. It means you're refusing to give them the satisfaction of knowing they've affected you. This is where your power lies. By maintaining your composure and not letting their actions disturb your peace, you're in control. A practical way to practice detachment is through mindfulness. When you're faced with a toxic person's negativity, pause, take a deep breath, and observe your thoughts. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? How can I respond in a way that aligns with my values? This moment of reflection can prevent an emotional reaction and help you respond with calmness and reason. The Stoics believe that it's not events themselves that disturb us, but our perception of those events. This means that how we choose to interpret a toxic person's behavior can make all the difference. By reframing the situation, you can change your emotional response and reduce the impact of their negativity. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, often spoke about the power of perception. He believed that our minds have the ability to turn adversity into opportunity. When dealing with a toxic person, instead of seeing them as an obstacle, try to view them as a teacher, someone who provides you with an opportunity to practice patience, compassion, and resilience. For example, if you have a boss who micromanages every detail of your work, instead of viewing this as a personal attack, reframe it as an opportunity to practice patience and improve your ability to communicate clearly. This shift in perspective not only helps you maintain your composure, but also empowers you to see value in what would otherwise be a frustrating experience. You can also reframe your expectations. Toxic people often behave the way they do because of their own issues, not because of anything you've done. By reminding yourself that their behavior is a reflection of their inner struggles, not your worth, you can let go of the need for their approval or validation. It may seem counterintuitive, but responding to toxic people with compassion can be a powerful way to disarm them. Compassion doesn't mean condoning their behavior or allowing yourself to be mistreated. Instead, it means understanding that their actions come from a place of suffering or insecurity. Epictetus taught that we should be lenient with others and strict with ourselves. This means holding ourselves to a high standard of behavior while understanding that others may not be as far along in their journey. When you see a toxic person as someone who is struggling with their own demons, it becomes easier to respond with empathy rather than anger. Consider the example of the victim, a friend who constantly complains about their life and refuses to take responsibility for their actions. Instead of feeling frustrated or dismissive, try to understand where their behavior is coming from. Perhaps they've experienced significant hardship and don't know how to cope. By showing empathy, you can set a boundary without hostility. You might say, "I understand that you're going through a tough time, and I care about you, but I can't keep having these conversations if they're always negative. I'm here to support you when you're ready to focus on solutions." Compassionate responses can often diffuse a toxic person's behavior when they realize that their attempts to provoke or manipulate aren't affecting you and that you're responding with understanding. Instead of hostility, they may lose the motivation to continue their negative behavior. It's important to recognize that sometimes the best way to deal with a toxic person is to limit your exposure to them. The Stoics were advocates of maintaining tranquility and protecting one's inner peace. Seneca once said, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." While it's not always possible to avoid toxic individuals entirely, you can choose how much of your time and energy you give to them. If someone's behavior is consistently draining you, it's okay to take a step back. You don't owe anyone unlimited access to your time or emotional energy, especially if their presence is affecting your well-being. Limit your interactions to what is necessary and avoid situations where their toxicity could be directed at you. In addition to limiting exposure, make self-care a priority. Toxic people can take a toll on your mental and emotional health, and it's essential to replenish your energy. Engage in activities that bring you joy, whether it's spending time in nature, practicing a hobby, or simply taking time for solitude and reflection. Strengthening your inner fortress requires regular maintenance, and self-care is an integral part of that process. Even the Stoics, who valued independence and inner strength, understood the importance of support from others. Toxic individuals can be incredibly draining, and it's essential to have people in your life who uplift and encourage you. Seneca wrote letters to his friend Lucilius, offering advice and wisdom, and in doing so, he demonstrated the value of connection and support. If you're dealing with a particularly toxic person, whether it's a boss, a family member, or a friend, don't hesitate to seek support from those who care about you. Talk to someone you trust, whether it's a friend, a therapist, or a mentor. Sharing your experience can provide a different perspective and remind you that you're not alone. When you have a strong support network, you're better equipped to handle the challenges that toxic people bring. They can offer you guidance, help you see the situation more clearly, and remind you of your worth when someone else's negativity tries to make you forget it. We've reached the end of our journey today, and I hope you found these insights on dealing with toxic people empowering. Navigating the challenges that toxic individuals present is no easy task, but with the guidance of Stoic philosophy, we can face them with resilience, grace, and inner strength. Remember, Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control others, only our own responses. Toxic people may come into our lives, but it is entirely up to us how much we let them affect us. By setting clear boundaries, practicing detachment, reframing our perspective, and responding with compassion, we protect our inner peace and grow as individuals. Each encounter with a toxic person can be seen as an opportunity to practice the Stoic virtues, patience, courage, and wisdom. Whether it's standing up for ourselves with assertiveness or learning to let go of things beyond our control, we can emerge stronger from each experience. The Stoics remind us that adversity is not something to fear, but something to embrace as a tool for growth. It's important to acknowledge that no one is perfect, and there will be times when toxic individuals push us to our limits. But when we falter, we can take solace in the Stoic practice of self-reflection. Instead of being harsh with ourselves, we can learn from the experience and prepare to face similar challenges in the future with greater resilience. Protecting our inner fortress is not just about avoiding toxicity. It's about cultivating a life filled with meaning and virtue. We must surround ourselves with people who inspire us and seek out experiences that nurture our minds and souls. As Seneca wisely said, associate with people who are likely to improve you. When we choose to invest our time and energy in uplifting relationships and positive pursuits, we weaken the influence of toxic individuals over our lives. If you take anything away from today's discussion, let it be this. The key to dealing with toxic people lies within you. Your mind is powerful, your values are your guide, and your peace is worth protecting. Toxic individuals will always exist, but you have the choice to respond in a way that aligns with your true self, a response rooted in virtue and wisdom. If you found value in this discussion and feel that these Stoic strategies can help you navigate the complexities of dealing with toxic people, then I invite you to join the Stoic Saga community by liking this video. Your support helps us reach more people who might benefit from these timeless teachings. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can stay updated on future content focused on personal growth, resilience, and living a life aligned with virtue. We're on this journey together, and there's so much more we can learn from the wisdom of the Stoics. Also, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you tried any of these strategies before? How do you deal with the toxic people in your life? Share your experiences in the comments below. Let's create a space where we can support and learn from one another. Thank you for watching and for being part of the Stoic Saga. Remember, you have power over your mind, and with that power comes the strength to face anything, even the most challenging of people, with courage and tranquility. Until next time, stay strong, stay wise, and keep striving to build your inner fortress. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.